The wedding album lies open on Aunt Maxine's coffee table, a glossy monument to betrayal. I stand rooted in place, a strange numbness spreading through my fingertips as I stare at my brother Nolan smiling beside his new wife, the same brother whose wedding I am supposedly meant to attend tomorrow. Elise, honey, I thought you already knew. Aunt Maxine's voice trembles somewhere behind me, heavy with something deeper than pity. Guilt. The carefully wrapped crystal frame slips from my grasp. It crashes against the floor, the sound of shattering glass reverberating through the living room like a physical echo of what's breaking inside me. Jagged pieces scatter across the polished hardwood, catching the golden light pouring in through the bay windows. That's not possible. My voice feels foreign, distant, as if it belongs to someone else. I fumble through my purse, pulling out the thick cream envelope addressed to me in graceful calligraphy. Look, June 15th, tomorrow. Aunt Maxine accepts the invitation with unsteady hands, her reading glasses balanced at the edge of her nose. Oh, Elise. Her voice fractures. The wedding already happened last weekend. They sent you the wrong date. On purpose. The room seems to tilt beneath my feet. I had taken a full day off from my executive marketing job to prepare, spent weeks searching for the ideal gift, selecting the perfect dress, rehearsing conversations with relatives who barely acknowledge my presence. How could they be so deliberately cruel? Your mother... Aunt Maxine pauses, then lifts her chin with quiet resolution. They thought it would be simpler if you weren't there. The memory of receiving that envelope rushes back to me, standing at my mailbox, sunlight glinting off the gold embossing, while my fingers traced my name. Hope had fluttered in my chest then. Maybe the invitation meant reconciliation. Maybe at last they wanted me included. I remember the family dinner 2 months earlier when Nolan announced his engagement. His gaze had swept the room, meeting everyone's eyes except mine. Still, I had smiled, offered my congratulations, pretended not to notice the omission. That weekend, I visited 3 different boutiques searching for the perfect dress, something refined but modest, something that suggested I belonged among them. The sales associate had remarked on my radiant smile as I stood before the mirror, my heart light with anticipation. Now I kneel on the floor, gathering fragments of broken crystal. When Aunt Maxine moves to assist, I gently shake my head. Let me. My hands tremble, yet my voice has steadied. They've always treated me as if I were invisible. Now they've made it official. For once, I do not search for reasons to excuse their behavior. I do not invent explanations to soften their cruelty. Something shifts inside me, like a tectonic plate finally breaking loose after years of strain. I rise, meeting Aunt Maxine's tear-filled eyes. I argued with your mother about this, she admits, twisting her hands together. I told her it was wrong, even cruel, but she overruled me. She said you'd only bring up uncomfortable subjects, ask awkward questions. A bitter laugh almost escapes me. Uncomfortable subjects such as the thousands of dollars I quietly funneled through my holding company to keep the family lake cottage from foreclosure? Embarrassing questions like why Nolan's repeated business failures are forgiven while my successes are minimized? I have spent years trying to earn my place in this family. I wrap the broken crystal in the festive gift paper, its cheerful pattern now feeling like another form of mockery. I thought if I achieved enough, if I helped enough, they would finally recognize my worth. Aunt Maxine takes my hand, her delicate skin cool against mine. Some people can't see what's right in front of you, Elise. Not won't, can't. The realization settles quietly but firmly within me. No accomplishment would ever be sufficient. No sacrifice would ever make them truly acknowledge me. I have been striving to earn what should have been freely given, allowing them to define my value. I glance again at the album, at the smiling faces celebrating without me. My absence was so complete they never even needed to remove me from the picture. Their choice had been made long before this wedding. Perhaps it was time I made mine. And I will. I will show my family who I am. I will not be invisible anymore. The following day, the steering wheel feels slick beneath my palms as I pull into my parents' circular driveway. Their Tudor-style house stands proudly against the afternoon sky, its trimmed hedges and shining windows revealing nothing of the betrayal inside. I switch off the engine but remain seated, watching through the bay window as they relax in the living room surrounded by wedding photographs. My mother's laughter drifts through the slightly open window, the same delicate musical sound I spent decades trying to earn. My father reclines in his leather chair, appearing more at ease than I've seen him in years. And Nolan, my golden child brother, stands beside the mantel, displaying a large wedding portrait, his voice carrying clearly across the lawn. best decision we made was making sure she wasn't there to ruin everything like always. Nausea surges through me as I grip the doorframe, my knuckles whitening against the polished wood. They continue laughing, turning album pages, entirely unaware of my presence. Nearly 3 minutes pass before my mother notices me standing in the doorway. Her champagne glass vanishes discreetly behind a silver-framed photograph. Elise. Not a greeting, not a question, just acknowledgement of an intrusion. The wedding was last weekend, I say, my voice steadier than my emotions. You sent me the wrong date deliberately. Nolan does not bother to look up. I needed one perfect day without you. The simplicity of his statement wounds more than any argument could have. No denial, no excuse. You've always disturbed our peace, Elise, Mother says, adjusting her pearl necklace, a nervous habit from my childhood. Can't you understand we wanted one special occasion with your intensity? Father remains silent in his recliner, studying his hands as if they contain hidden answers. His silence speaks louder than words, approval disguised as passivity. I step farther into the room, noticing how they occupy the comfortable seats while I remain standing. The physical representation of our family dynamic could not be clearer. I've invested thousands into the lake cottage repairs through my holding company, I say. Did you think I wouldn't discover you've been telling everyone it still belongs entirely to you? Mother waves dismissively. That's what successful children do. They help their parents. It's your duty. Playing with your little marketing spreadsheets while the rest of us pursue real careers. Nolan smirks, dropping the album onto the table. Dad built something real. I design architectural visions. What do you produce besides money? Their words crystallize a truth I have long avoided. To them, they are neither daughter nor sister, only a resource, an ATM with inconvenient emotions. I catch my reflection in the ornate mirror above the fireplace. The woman staring back seems diminished, shoulders slightly hunched, head tilted in habitual apology. How long has this stranger inhabited my body? A woman trained to shrink herself at every gathering, to lower her voice at every holiday meal.
Let me clarify something you seem to have forgotten. I open my purse and remove a slim folder taken from my office before coming here. I have documentation of every expense related to that cottage, every repair, every tax payment. Mother's eyes narrow, uncertainty flickering across her face. And more importantly, I continue, I hold the deed, not as co-owner, as sole owner. I place the document on the table. You transferred your share to my company 3 years ago when Nolan required funding for his failing restaurant. Father finally lifts his head, confusion warring with realization. You are welcome to challenge it, I add, my voice growing stronger. But the paperwork is comprehensive. Jenna ensured that. Jenna? My Jenna Morales? Mother's voice sharpens. Our family attorney? My attorney now, I correct calmly, for the past 5 years. 15 minutes later, walking back to my car with trembling hands but steady steps, I consider whether to sever all financial ties immediately or withdraw gradually to allow them time to adjust. The temptation of swift justice is strong, yet I wonder if that would make me as ruthless as they have been. What would you do when you discover the people meant to love you have only used you? I start the engine, the gentle hum steadying my racing thoughts. For the first time since receiving that beautiful lie disguised as an invitation, I feel something resembling peace. Perhaps the most meaningful wedding was not Nolan's, but my own union with the woman I am and the woman I have always had the strength to become. That same day, my phone vibrates for the 5th time within an hour. Another cousin I haven't spoken to since last Thanksgiving, suddenly expressing concern for my mental well-being. Mother has clearly been busy. Elise, honey, we're worried about you, Uncle Robert says through the speaker. Your mother claims you've been making outrageous accusations. I press my fingers to my temple. Did she mention that they sent me a false invitation with the wrong date? The silence tells me everything. Well, there must be some misunderstanding, he finally says. No misunderstanding, Uncle Robert. They didn't want me there, so they ensured I wouldn't be. After ending the call, I open my laptop to discover Nolan has posted wedding photos online. Surrounded by everyone who matters, the caption reads, beneath an image of our smiling parents beside the newlyweds. The absence I once overlooked in family photographs now screams at me. The final insult arrives in today's mail, a formal letter on my father's business stationery demanding the return of the lake cottage to its rightful owners, as though I had stolen rather than saved it. Night after night, I lie awake, photographs spread across my bed. The smiling faces seem to mock my innocence. Had I imagined the moments of happiness, fabricated memories of connection where only tolerance existed? Loneliness presses heavily against my chest, intensified now that the illusion of family bonds has dissolved. At 3 a.m, during a moment of weakness, I reach for my phone, my thumb hovering over Mother's number. Perhaps I am overreacting. Perhaps a single apology could restore peace. But whose peace? Certainly not mine.
Instead, I open my laptop and begin documenting. Every check written for Nolan's failing ventures. Every transfer covering the cottage's taxes. Every loan never repaid. The spreadsheet grows steadily, each entry another brick in the boundary I am finally constructing. On Tuesday afternoon, a knock at my office door interrupts my work. Aunt Maxine enters carrying 2 paper bags from my favorite deli. "Thought you might skip lunch," she says, placing a sandwich on my desk. She rests her hand on my shoulder, her turquoise rings glinting in the light. "I'm proud of you for standing up. It's about time someone in this family showed courage." The simple gesture nearly unravels me. My assistant's voice sounds through the intercom before I can respond. "Miss Hartman, your parents are in the lobby. They don't have an appointment." Aunt Maxine squeezes my shoulder. "Would you like me to stay?" I straighten. "No, I need to handle this myself." When they enter, Mother immediately produces tears, her mascara untouched despite them. "How could you abandon your family? We've always supported you." Father stands stiffly beside her. "The cottage has belonged to our family for generations. You have no right." They remain standing while I stay seated behind my desk, no longer leaping to my feet when they enter a room. "That cottage hasn't belonged to this family for years," I say calmly. "You sold your share to my company when you needed money for Nolan's failed business." Mother's tears vanish instantly. "We did no such thing." I retrieve a document from my desk drawer. "Your signature is here, Mother. April 2018, when Nolan's restaurant collapsed." Father steps forward. "We assumed once things improved." "You assumed I would return it without acknowledging the legal transfer? Or you assumed I would continue funding the family while being excluded from it?" The words come easily now. "I'm not your bank. I'm not your safety net. I'm done." For the first time in my life, my mother looks at me with something other than disappointment. Fear. I have made myself clear. The intercom buzzes again. "Miss Hartman, Jenna Morales is here for your 2 o'clock. Perfect timing. Jenna enters confidently, briefcase in hand, her commanding presence filling the office. "Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, I believe this meeting is concluded," she says, gesturing toward the door. "This is family business," Mother snaps. "Which is why Miss Morales, my attorney, is handling it," I reply. "All future communication will go through her office." The contrast is unmistakable. Jenna's respectful Miss Hartman against my mother's dismissive glare. As Jenna escorts them out, Father looks back once, confusion warring with realization. When they're gone, Jenna returns with documents. "Ready to make this official?" With each paper I sign, my voice grows stronger, my signature more confident with each page. The legal notice giving them 30 days to vacate the cottage feels like signing a Declaration of Independence. "Your mother's signature on the sale document is ironclad," Jenna says, sorting the paperwork into her briefcase. "They don't have a legal leg to stand on." As I sign the final document, my phone lights up with Nolan's name, the first time he's called in years. I watch it ring, no longer jumping at his summons. Some calls don't deserve to be answered. Next day, the documents spread across Thomas Bedford's polished mahogany desk like battle clans. I sign each one with deliberate strokes, my signature growing more confident with each page. Joint accounts closed, cosign loans transferred, investment portfolios separated. Thomas checks items off his list, his voice carrying the measured cadence of a man who's witnessed family fortunes crumble before. Perfect timing, too. According to their schedule, your parents should be halfway through their country club luncheon right about now. I glance at my watch, 12:37. Mother will be ordering her second gin and tonic, Father nodding politely at whatever retired executive has cornered him. The predictability of their routine has become my strategic advantage. "What about the restraining order?" I ask, sliding the last form across the desk. Thomas adjusts his wire-rimmed glasses. "Judge Harriman will review it this afternoon."
The documentation is thorough. Workplace harassment has clear precedent. I think of my parents' unannounced visits, the scenes in the lobby, the whispers among colleagues. My fingers curl into a fist beneath the desk. I've seen families destroy people, Elise. Thomas closes his leather portfolio with a decisive snap. "You're making the right choice." The certainty in his voice steadies something inside me that's been trembling for days. When my phone vibrates, I expect Aunt Maxine's name. Instead, the building security number flashes on the screen. "Miss Hartman, there's a situation in the lobby. Your brother is demanding to see you." Thomas notices my expression and points to the speakerphone button. I press it. "Is he creating a disturbance?" I ask, my voice surprisingly calm. "Yes, ma'am. Security protocol requires documentation of the incident. He's quite insistent about financial matters." Thomas scribbles a note and slides it toward me. "This strengthens the restraining order case." I'm not coming down, I tell the security officer. "Please follow standard protocols for unauthorized visitors." 15 minutes later, my phone rings again. An unfamiliar number. "Elise? It's Kendra, Nolan's wife." Her voice wavers. "I'm outside your building." I close my eyes, bracing for another attack. "I saw everything," she continues. "The way he acted in your lobby. I had no idea he could be like that." Through the window, I spot her standing near the fountain, phone pressed to her ear,
shoulders hunched against the spring breeze. He told me you refused to help with the wedding, that you were jealous of our happiness. Her voice cracks. But that wasn't true, was it? You never even knew when it was happening. The admission hangs between us. I'm sorry, she whispers. I should have questioned why you weren't there. I watch her brush hair from her face, the diamond on her ring finger catching sunlight. 3 weeks married and already discovering the person behind the performance. Thomas discreetly steps out, giving me privacy. When the door closes, I finally speak. Why are you telling me this? Because I recognize the look on his face today. It's the same one my father had when he threatened my mother. I'm not waiting 30 years to admit what I'm seeing. When Kendra reached out, I wondered if I should maintain the wall I'd built around myself or allow this one small bridge to remain. Could someone so closely tied to my pain become an ally, or was this another trap I couldn't yet see? Aunt Maxine arrives at my office later that afternoon, carrying a worn leather briefcase I've never seen before. I've been keeping these for years, she says, laying out folders containing printouts of emails, text messages, and financial records dating back a decade. Your mother never believed in deleting anything. Thought she might need leverage someday. I flip through pages of correspondence revealing a systematic pattern of emotional and financial exploitation. Need money for Nolan's business venture. Elise won't mind co-signing. Tell Elise the cottage repairs are minimal. No need to mention the foundation issues. She's coming for Thanksgiving. Hide the new boat until after she leaves. Each message lands like a physical blow. Jenna, my lawyer, arrives as I'm midway through the second folder that day. She scans several key documents, her expression hardening. This strengthens our position on the cottage ownership considerably, she says, selecting specific emails for her files. The judge will see a clear pattern here. Thomas returns with confirmation that additional security measures have been implemented on my accounts. They won't be able to access anything, even with the information they have about you. The following morning, Jenna calls with news that makes me sit down abruptly in my kitchen. Judge granted the restraining order. His exact words were, clear pattern of emotional and financial harassment. They can't come within 500 feet of your workplace or residence. That afternoon, Aunt Maxine calls. Your cousin Rebecca canceled her bridge game with your mother. Said she couldn't look her in the eye after what she did to you. One by one, the dominoes began to fall. Uncle Stephen removes them from the holiday rotation. Grandmother's oldest friend refuses their dinner invitation. Nolan's hinting increases as rumors circulate about Kendra moving back to her parents' house. His financial stability leaves with her. When the formal eviction notice for the cottage arrives at my parents' house, reality finally sinks in. The consequences they never imagined possible have come due. I run my finger over the embossed letterhead of my holding company. The same company that purchased the cottage 3 years ago when they could no longer afford the taxes. The cottage they still believe is theirs. The truth has a way of revealing itself, one document at a time. A week later on Wednesday, the familiar gleam of morning sunlight across the polished granite lobby of my office building feels different today. I've walked through these doors hundreds of times, but never quite like this, with security guards Stan and Miguel exchanging knowing glances as my parents enter behind Pastor Williams, their expressions a careful study in contrition. Mother's camel hair coat hangs slightly askew on her shoulders, her normally perfect hair showing telltale strands out of place. Father stands with unusual deference, his shoulders hunched forward in a posture I've never witnessed before. The family pastor walks between them, Bible clutched to his chest like a shield. Elise. Pastor Williams extends his hand, his voice carrying that practiced tone of gentle authority he uses for hospital visits and funeral services. Your parents thought it might help to have someone neutral, present for this conversation. I don't take his hand. There's nothing neutral about someone who's been at our Christmas dinner table for 20 years, Pastor. Mother steps forward, her voice wavering. We've been praying about this situation, Elise, about your behavior lately. My behavior? The words escape as a quiet laugh that surprises even me. The cottage has been in our family for generations. Father finally speaks, his usual commanding tone replaced with something resembling humility. Your grandfather built it with his own hands. Pastor Williams places a gentle hand on my arm. Forgiveness is divine, Elise. They're still your parents. There are bonds that transcend disagreements. Disagreements? I repeat, feeling heat rise in my neck. Is that what we're calling deliberate cruelty now? Think about what people at church will say. Mother whispers, glancing around the lobby as if congregation members might materialize beside the potted ferns. Families shouldn't air their difficulties in public. The Thornton girl just went through something similar with her parents. Everyone's talking. I straighten my spine, feeling a strange lightness spread through my chest. I've been promoted to Creative Strategy Director, Pastor. Did they mention that when they asked you to come? Or that my team just landed the Richardson account? The pastor blinks, clearly thrown off script. That's wonderful news, Elise. Congratulations. I reach into my leather portfolio and remove 2 envelopes, placing them side by side on the reception desk.
This is the invitation to Nolan's wedding I received. And this is the real one Aunt Maxine showed me afterward. Pastor Williams peers at them, confusion creasing his forehead as he notes the different dates. They sent me the wrong date on purpose so I wouldn't attend my own brother's wedding. My voice remained steady, a revelation in itself. This wasn't a misunderstanding or an oversight. It was deliberate exclusion. Sometimes families make difficult choices to maintain peace. Pastor Williams begins, but I cut him off. I've spent my life forgiving, Pastor. I've turned the other cheek so many times I've been spinning in circles. Now I'm spending it living. I lock eyes with him directly. Did they tell you about the lake cottage? How I've been making the payments for 8 years while they pretended it was still theirs? Or how they've needed financial assistance every time Nolan starts a new business venture? Or perhaps they mentioned how they forgot to invite me to Thanksgiving dinner 3 years running, but remembered to call when they needed their roof replaced. The pastor's expression shifts, the certainty in his eyes wavering as he glances between my parents. Elise, after all we've sacrificed for you, Mother interjects, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. I turn to face her fully, standing taller than I ever have in their presence. Name one sacrifice you've made for me that wasn't actually for Nolan. The silence stretches between us, becoming their answer. I pick up a manila envelope from the reception desk and hand it to my father. These are all the family photos I kept, the ones where you cropped me halfway out or where I'm standing slightly apart. I've been holding on to them, thinking someday I'd feel like I belonged in those frames. Father takes it automatically, his fingers trembling slightly. I'm releasing myself from the obligation of being your daughter, I say, the words bringing an unexpected rush of oxygen into my lungs. You're free from having to pretend I matter to you. You can't just stop being family, Mother says, her voice rising. After all we've sacrificed for you. You already said that. I hold her gaze, still waiting for an example. Stan steps forward from his security desk, his presence a quiet reminder that this confrontation has an audience. Everything all right here, Miss Hartman? Yes, Stan, my visitors were just leaving. This isn't over, Elise, Father says, clutching the envelope of photos. Actually, it isn't. I turn toward the elevator banks. Stan will show you out. I don't look back as the elevator doors close behind me, cutting off the sound of my mother's protests. The sensation of lightness continues spreading through my chest, replacing the familiar weight I've carried for decades. 2 weeks later, the news reaches me through Aunt Maxine. Nolan has lost his job, his marriage already showing cracks under financial pressure. I feel nothing but a distant pity, like observing strangers through a rain-streaked window. The first letter arrives at my office the following Tuesday. The envelope bears my father's distinctive handwriting, precise capitals with flourished edges. I place it on my desk beside my coffee, studying it as steam rises between us. My finger traces the edge of the seal, not yet breaking it. Inside might be more manipulation, more guilt, more demands disguised as family obligation, or perhaps something else entirely. I haven't decided whether to open it yet, and that choice, I realize, is the most valuable thing I've gained. A year later, the morning sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my lake house office, casting golden patterns across the hardwood floor. My photographs line the walls, landscapes I captured during weekend trips, when I stopped waiting for invitations that never came. No family portraits here, just moments that belong solely to me. My phone rings, and for the first time in years, my shoulders don't tense at the sound. Elise Hartman, I answer, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder as I arrange presentation notes. It's a potential client interested in my boutique marketing approach. As I explain my philosophy about authentic brand storytelling, I notice the wall calendar behind my desk. Where family obligations once dominated, birthdays I celebrated alone, holidays where I arrived bearing gifts and left bearing wounds, now personal milestones stretch across the months. Half marathon in August, photography workshop in September, a week in Montana just because I've always wanted to see big sky country. When the call ends, I lean back in my chair and breathe. The cottage that once symbolized my family's hold over me has become my sanctuary. The mail arrives with its usual shuffle through the brass slot. Among the business correspondence sits a thick cream envelope, my name written in flowing calligraphy. My heart stutters momentarily before studying. Another wedding invitation, my cousin Rachel this time. I run my finger along the embossed edge, remembering how a similar envelope once carried such bitter disappointment. The date looks correct. The RSV card includes a handwritten note. It wouldn't be the same without you, Elise. Please come. For a moment, I consider what's expected, what the old Elise would have done. Drop everything, find the perfect gift, prepare answers to intrusive questions about my single status and childless life. Instead, I check my calendar. The wedding falls during my photography retreat in Maine. I select a response card from my desk door and write a genuine note explaining my absence and wishing them joy. I'll send a thoughtfully selected gift, not to earn approval, but because giving brings me pleasure when it's freely chosen. That evening, Aunt Maxine arrives first for our dinner, bringing her famous apple crumble.
Thomas appears with a bottle of wine he's been saving for a special occasion. Jenna rushes in last, apologizing for court running late, her laugh filling my kitchen. 1 year, Thomas says, raising his glass once we're seated around my dining table. 1 year of boundaries that would make a fortress envious. To finding family and friendship, Aunt Maxine adds, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and strength in starting over. We clink glasses as laughter bubbles up from somewhere deep inside me, rusty but genuine. Later, after they've gone, I sit at my desk and open my father's latest letter. Unlike his early correspondence filled with guilt and demands, this one acknowledges harm without seeking absolution. I failed you, he writes simply. You deserved better. I place the letter in a wooden box with the others, not displayed proudly, nor destroyed in anger, just acknowledged as part of a story I no longer need to rewrite. Beside me sits a brochure for a mentoring program, helping young women navigate early career challenges. My travel itinerary for Portugal, a solo journey I've dreamed about since college, rests beneath it. Both represent futures built on my terms. As I close the box of letters, I wonder if healing means reconciliation, or simply peace with the past. Is family defined by blood or by those who treat your heart with care? Some bridges burn for a reason, while others can you rebuild stronger than before. What would you choose? The comfort of what's familiar, or the promise of what could be?